What did James and John want Jesus to do for them? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Mark on Walking Through the Bible.
Of His word, the glory of His cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Mark chapter 10. We're going to be reading from verses 35 to 45. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Mark chapter 10, beginning at verse 35. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him, saying, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. And he said to them, What do you want me to do for you? They said to him, Grant us that we may sit one on your right hand and the other on your left in your glory. But Jesus said to them, You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They said to him, We are able. So Jesus said to them, You will indeed drink the cup that I drink, and with the baptism I am baptized with, you will be baptized. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it is prepared. And when the 10 heard it, they began to be greatly displeased with James and John. But Jesus called them to himself and said to them, You know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to become great among you shall be your servant. And whoever of you desires to be first shall be a slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give him his life a ransom for many. In the past few chapters, Jesus has been dealing with the topic of humility. In chapter 9, the disciples had been disputing about who is the greatest, and Jesus used a child to teach them about humility. Here in chapter 10, Jesus told them how wealth can make it difficult to be saved, for humility is a hard trait for those who are rich. So coming now down to verse 35, we find that James and John, for whatever reason, and seemingly disregarding Jesus' prior teachings, come to Jesus and ask that he do for them whatever they ask. Jesus said, What do you want me to do? They replied that they wanted to sit on his right and left hands when he came into his glory, meaning heaven or perhaps an earthly kingdom. While that might be admirable in some regards, in another it showed their lack of understanding about what Jesus was teaching on humility, for what they were asking was for a position of power. Now, if we only had the book of Mark, we would think that James and John asked Jesus for this themselves. But we don't. We have the book of Matthew 2 as the only other account of this incident. In Matthew's account, he records that it was James's and John's mother who did the literal asking. Is this a contradiction? No, for James and John were the ones asking the question, but obviously couldn't find the courage to ask Jesus themselves, so they used their mother as the vehicle, perhaps thinking that Jesus wouldn't deny her. Jesus didn't immediately say yes or no. He told them that they didn't know what they were asking for. As we said earlier, what James and John were asking for was a place of power, a place of prestige. But here on this earth, that's not how Jesus' disciples would be treated. Jesus asked James and John, Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink of? He also asked them if they were to be able to be baptized with the baptism that Jesus was baptized with. The cup here is a metaphor for affliction and punishment, something that was about to happen to Jesus in Jerusalem. The Jews would thus recognize that metaphor in this way. The baptism that Jesus speaks of here, which is not present in some of the transcripts of Matthew, is not water baptism, for the context doesn't really allow that. Water baptism is something that is a happy occasion, something all Christians must submit to if they want to be saved. No, this baptism refers to suffering and death. Jesus was on the way to Jerusalem to suffer greatly at the hands of the Jews and then suffer an agonizing death via crucifixion. Although I am sure that they didn't fully understand what they were agreeing to, James and John said they were able to do that. With James's and John's answering in the affirmative, Jesus said that they will indeed drink the cup that he was about to drink of and be baptized with that baptism, meaning that these apostles would suffer much like Jesus did. James would be the first apostle martyred for Christ, while John would suffer horrible things, including banishment for the name of Christ. He would also see visions of great suffering that Christians would undergo during the Roman persecution, during the book of Revelation, visions that I'm sure would have caused John to suffer. In truth, all of the disciples would suffer in some way. It's just James and John were told specifically so here. Even though they would suffer, Jesus would not give them places at his right and left hand, for they were not places for him to give. Only the Father could do that. Now the other disciples were obviously displeased that James and John tried to elevate themselves. So Jesus calmed the situation down by again teaching them about greatness. In earthly kingdoms, kings lord over their power over their people. But in his kingdom, such would not be so. Greatness in the kingdom would not be determined by official rank, but by service. Want to be great in the kingdom? Become a servant to others. Jesus exemplified this in that he is the king, yet he came to earth to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. What a sacrifice that Jesus gave on our behalf, a sacrifice he gave because he loved us. Let's follow Jesus' example of service, and as Christians seek to serve others in any way possible. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Mark chapter 10, verses 46 to 52, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.